Hello, dear viewers, and welcome to a new episode of Business Insider. Tonight we'll be talking about the Egyptian economy, which has found new tracks. The Egyptian economy, which is getting back on its feet. We'll talk about the mega infrastructure projects in Egypt. We'll talk about efforts to localize the industry, to depend more on the agricultural sector, to increase revenues in the key tourism sector, and all of the government's efforts to lure direct foreign investments. And we'll be doing that in the company of our dear guest here in the studio, engineer Dr. Mostafa Wali. He is the former general manager of the Egyptian Federation of Industries. He's also a member of the Energy Committee at the Egyptian Syndicate of Engineers and a founding member of the Egyptian European Business Council. A very good evening to you, Dr. Wali, and thank you for being with us.
Good evening to you, and thank you for having me.
Thank you, Dr. Wali, very much. So, Egypt, really in the past couple of years or so, like much of the region and much of the globe, was suffering from an economic downturn and many, many challenges. But it seems that developments in the past few months, and especially with the Ras Al Hikma deal and with the floating of the Egyptian pound and the stabilization of the exchange rate with the dollar here in Egypt, and a lot of other positive developments happening, seems the Egyptian economy is finding new tracks despite, again, the existing challenges that surround us.
Yeah, okay. Frankly speaking, you have put in a nutshell the whole situation. And it's the whole situation across actually very tough 2 or minimum 2 years or 3 years of the whole world. And the race is still carrying on so far. The problem is we are part, and we should be proud that we became part for a long time now. We are part of the international economy. I mean, even concerning the basic of the economy, international economy movement and tides and all this. Look at our position, I mean, geographical position, and the development in the hubs for international trade. This is very important, because if you are part of the international trade with your infrastructure, this is something very important. And this is also, by the way, I started with it because it's very promising, and soon, I mean soon, it means time to come, we will witness the importance and the use and the benefit of investment so heavily in such sector, I mean ports. And I think we talked about this one before. And this is also one of the areas which a lot of people who are familiar with the importance of the international trade, because a good sign of the growth of the world economy at large is the increase in the volume of trade. Sometimes it's like this, and measures, it goes this way.
Understood.
Right now we can feel it. Look at these problems in Europe, Russia and Ukraine. Look at the effect of the trade.
And we can see, of course, what's happening in the Red Sea and the Houthi attacks, and the situation in
this is the direct effect,
the
direct negative effect on
exactly
us,
on the Suez Canal revenues, for instance, and maybe also to a lesser extent on tourism. But let's again go back and try to review what happened in the past few years here. Is that the world suffered from the COVID-19 pandemic. The Egyptian economy was doing well before COVID-19. It sustained much of the damage. It was one of the better performing economies during COVID-19. But what really hurt the Egyptian economy was the Russia-Ukraine war. due to the fact, I guess, as experts indicate, is that we import much of our wheat from that
The sharp
region.
increase in the price. For example, I mean...
And then came the Gaza war.
Exactly, exactly. You know, there is very famous proverb, is two slaps on the face one slap is tough, then what about two? Then if you apply this for what happened in the world, you know, I mean, to get out from COVID into directly this what's going on in Europe. What's going on in Europe is really shameful, you know, because it is it's now the Europe after the 1945, after the Second World War. Europe have been living, you know, in, let's say, in development, in life, you know, and the life is going on normally, without anything which will affect the life of the people, certain people. On the contrary, you know, there was a lot of good signs and good initiatives. Look, even the unification of Germany, for example, and how it boosted for the economy of Europe. I mean, all this. Back again, figures are very important, especially when it comes from a professional and well-known and recognized organization.
Right.
Talking about Egyptian economy and how it was performing, let's say in the years starting from 14, this.
And prior to COVID-19.
Yes, that's why. Look at the figures. It's there. It's stated. It's facts. Our GDP growth annually, we reached 5.7, and even 7.5, and it was around 7, which is something actually according to the situation. And you could feel it that time compared, because if you look directly, what is the most items affected by the change in prices or the cost is the daily food of the masses. You see, there was not such sharp increase. And then, actually we should talk this way, but you know, sometimes the facts are so tough, so people might forget. And we should understand, we should consider the situation. But
and back then, Dr. Wali, the mega infrastructure projects were some sort of stimulus packages that got the Egyptian economy still going and still moving, even in the midst of COVID, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, Egypt was one of the better performing countries.
And look, the boost started before it. I mean, the gradual and you know, and the massive progress and you know, and that actually, if you look at it from the perspective, I mean, a larger, wider perspective of economy, in these projects, which infrastructure, by the way, the history will recall this, and we will pass by it, inshallah. We have to be optimistic. I tell you what, actually, what was you know, invested in these mega projects of the infrastructure, from energy to road to ports to you name it, you know, I'm talking the big things. Actually, it helped also to let the people feel, because it needs labor, and then there was employment, you know. So it was inside, something's done inside, then everybody feels it, you know. The most important thing, you could see even how sharp the rate of the unemployment was decreasing, you know.
Right.
We were more than 2 digits, and then it came up to 7%, well, maybe less. We have to talk figures sometimes, but actually the people...
And certainly the social solidarity programs and the presidential initiatives like Hayat Karima or a Decent Life and others helped. But again, the Russia-Ukraine war really had an effect, had a big effect on the Egyptian economy. And it was a tough time since then. And before Ras al-Hikmah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So talk to us about these 2 years or so.
Well, look, because things, sometimes when things are chaotic, so things are messed up, and you know, we have to accept. These are facts of life, internationally even. But you know, the wise people, those who have the confidence, who are not sure, and they know exactly what should be done, they all should contain and maintain, you know, what you call cold-blooded and, you know, and determination to face. And I think we as Egyptian people at large, we are like this, especially those who are, you know, entitled with the future of this country and the present of this country. in this case, I want to tell you something. Okay, everything was invested in, starting from the infrastructure to the superstructure.
What's the superstructure?
The superstructure, for example, you know, when you have the infrastructure enough, then you can horizontally expand in certain projects important for the quality of life, you know, improving the quality of life. You know. Then you can, for example, you can start, you know, having green areas in your urban design. You know,
the word green came to my mind just when you were speaking.
Yes. That's I'm telling you. That's
the horizontal.
That's just an example, but there's other things, you know. For example, the superstructure is that you can maintain, you can invest in the most sophisticated, latest technology in IT technology, in IT, in information technology. Then you have the, you can afford
and this
for
is happening.
this.
This is happening.
Of course, and you can afford for this, you know. And that's it. And then I mean, but the main thing it was, and we have passed a big stroke in it. It is the infrastructure, you know.
Yes.
Infrastructure.
And this is something that will help future generations.
Absolutely.
It's not something, you know,
we felt it
just for today.
We as co-generation, you know, we witnessed it. Can I tell you something? Look at, for example, now, soon it will be, this monorail will be finished. The people, regardless of any hassle or any, but when it is there, you will see the difference. Everybody will see the difference.
Everyone will feel the difference.
And right now, even, you know, extending this metro line, you know, now we have, it's covering the whole Cairo.
The greater Cairo,
the greater Cairo, of course, you know. For instance, just today I read that soon, on 15th of May, there will be the extension of the third line,
the green line.
These are news really which deserve, you know, respect, deserve consideration.
Absolutely.
And it goes in the same direction.
Speaking of the challenges, and of course Egypt is doing its best in trying to ease the suffering of the Palestinian people in Gaza, suffering from the barbaric Israeli occupation and its aggression there since October. And Egypt is leading efforts, you know, mediating a truce, trying to find trying to find a permanent ceasefire. We hope and pray for the sake of the Palestinians in Gaza who are really suffering from dire humanitarian conditions, and for the sake of the region and for the sake of peace.
That we are part of it. We are the closest
that
to
a permanent ceasefire would be reached, and that eventually peace will be achieved, although the Israelis seem to have other ideas. But anyway, once this happens, this will have a positive effect on the Egyptian economy, right? On the Suez Canal, on tourism.
Everything. Because what is abnormal to the level of destruction is the war. Generally, that's the life. That's very important. Then the normal life where people are living in peace, you know, at least the tension, the human tension, psychological and, you know, and mental, which will affect even the planning for the tomorrow, not only long-term planning. So this state of war, of aggression, of hatred should be finished, should be terminated for the goodness of everybody. I mean, we should think this way. And I think Egypt now, it's clear all over the world, you know. If you read, of course, you know, it's well-known story. You go through the international media, you'll find that Egypt is taking the burden of mediation with all its toughness, with all, plus even, you know, we have been very clear in our situation.
Egypt is a constant seeker of peace.
Yes.
Egypt
and
believes
plus
in
also
peace.
we are in this issue, we have our red lines, we put it frankly, you know, and everybody knows it. So let's hope there is some reason will come up with this, who are taking the decision making, and there must be like this.
Dr. Wali, allow us to watch a report on our main topic for tonight and then come back and continue our discussion. I want to ask you, about the positive recent developments, the foreign direct investment money that is flowing in Egypt at the moment, the big rating agencies that are giving now a positive outlook for Egypt.
And credit ratings.
Yeah, credit ratings. So allow us first to watch a report, Dr. Wali, dear viewers, and then come back and continue our discussion here as the Egyptian economy is finding new tracks.
Egypt is focusing on localizing the industry and recently on locomotives and automotives. The Ministry of Transport has partnered with the French government to improve railways and extend lines in Cairo and Alexandria. Minister of Transport Kamel El Waziri and French Minister of Economy and Finance Bruno Le Maire have inked a memo of understanding outlining a roadmap for boosting the locomotive industry's reach and initiating the construction of Greater Cairo's 6th metro line. Recently, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has attended the Labor Day ceremony at Hair Egypt complex in the 10th of Ramadan city, where he witnessed by video conference a ceremony marking the production of the first Egyptian engine at the gasoline engines factory for the light transportation. In November 2023, the General Authority for Investment and Free Zones, GAFI, the Environmentally Friendly Automotive Industry Fund, and the Automotive Industry Unit have entered into an agreement with Global Auto Group to produce cars locally. Madbouli emphasized that the agreement signifies Egypt's commitment to developing the automobile industry, particularly in the area of environmentally friendly cars. These cars are automatic vehicles that have zero emissions and do not harm the environment.
Welcome back. Thank you very much, Abir Hussein and Rasha Abdel Hamid, for this report. Back here in the studio with our dear guest engineer, Dr. Mostafa Wali, the former general manager of the Federation of Egyptian Industries and the member of the Energy Committee at the Egyptian Syndicate of Engineers, and also a founding member of the Egyptian European Business Council. Dr. Wali, before the break, I was asking you about the new developments, and really it seems to be a turning point that happened is the Ras Al Hikmah deal, with all the money that it brought directly to the Egyptian economy. That was followed by the central bank's decisions to float the Egyptian pound against the dollar, and then we saw a stabilization of the price, no black market anymore, and then we are seeing the prices of some commodities coming down, perhaps not as much as people want or need, but prices of essential commodities are coming down. So, and the rating agencies and the credit agencies are talking better now about the Egyptian economy, and we're seeing better expectations for our economy from the World Bank or the IMF and so on. Talk to us about all of this.
Okay, I would like to hint just, some characteristics. I don't know if you will agree with me that when things are bad or negative concerning, the community, it can happen quickly, War is the most, because it's just a few days, the war is drastic, Getting better, I mean, to getting to normal before this takes time. That's fact of life. I mean,
it is.
It doesn't mean that it's extended, but I mean hurrying up. But first, we should maintain the conditions to pick up again, to restart to rebound. Exactly, that's the terminology, rebounding. For rebounding, in this case for us, we are talking about our economy.
Our future.
Of course, I mean, we want to rebound the economy to get at least to the most important figure. The real one is the rate of growth, or growth rate of the GDP, because that's the indication that there is development, there is growth in everything, because the net result is positive. And you will find it even coming from the international institution, which does not compliment nobody. It's facts and figures. So your rating will increase. So once you start to feel that there is, things are getting into, at least in the basic areas of life, I'm talking now for the masses, you know, effect on masses, because this is the most important thing for any government who is taking care of its people, is to reduce the burden, to reduce the crunch of any thing beyond its control. You know, they have to work hard. So I'm telling you this because this is the main issue. Let's feel it. Let's think of it seriously, and then we will have the patience and the will. And with what's going on is very promising. So let's hold it and maximize it. I mean, let's seize the chance to develop our country, to care for our country. Let's seize the chance even to minimize our waste, which is true, because there was a very important event, international event. It's the day, it's called the Day of Waste. It was last month. Imagine, you know, that United Nations, some of its activities all over the world. And the definition of waste, you will find a lot of the waste of time. Imagine, come on. I'm telling you this because if we as people, you know, will start to get this feeling, which should be there. I mean, it's man and it's the people feelings when it is reacting with the situation. If it is getting it positively or temporarily that it will go, then it will help, you know, at least to surpass it. I'm talking this because we have to face this. Even we are very, very practical mind, we live in figures and facts, but this psychological feature is important, honestly. I believe in it. And
you are calling for patience?
No, not patience.
You're saying,
yeah,
I mean,
right.
Obviously what you said is a fact of life. I mean, when things come down, they come down quickly, but when they rebound, it takes time. I mean, it is a fact of life, as you said. Yeah. But so what are you implying?
In any positive, we should hold in it, you know. I mean, we should not, you know, disregard it or say there's nothing, you know. Let's hold it, and then bit by bit, then okay, we will have the momentum. If we recall our history, recent history, we have been through tough time. We have been through wars, imagine, with all its consequences. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, remember, and then the co-generation, they can remember, you know, I mean, for the daily life, you know, demands of the daily life. And we passed it, we managed, and then we get into... Anyway, back again to the most important thing. We should maximize any asset we have. I'm talking now those who have the power and who have the authority to handle the assets of this country. The assets of this country should be utilized, should be invested in, should be developed, should be taken care of to the maximum benefit. And we have some signs now of this, some latest, you know. We were talking about Ras Al Hikmah, for example. Ras Al Hikmah, not just it will give a shift, you know, or a push to the economic situation when it comes to at least available hard currency. But look, the employment, which you look, that sometimes could be in itself a big gain, even if things are okay, enough that you will have to increase the rate of employment, and even it will be better employment rewards, I mean, salary-wise, wages-wise. And development in rural, in some areas where it is deserted, for example. If you look at the west coast for us, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
you see
The North Coast. Yeah.
Northwest, yeah,
Yeah,
for generations, you know, for hundreds of years. Now you see, you can develop, and this will bring more. Once you establish, you can expect the gain will be doubled and tripled based on what, how you will have it as a project. And in this case, I think we will handle, together with our partners, such a project to the best of the latest in everything. And then it will be state of the art in this case. And then we are turning our country to a magnet for tourism, especially already workforce, you know, already employment, and all this. Plus, and you could manage to convince that there is a chance to invest in Egypt. So when you raise the slogan that invest in Egypt, then it's correct, it's okay, it will work. Because in such situation, you prove. And then it's the same when it comes to industry, when it comes where we have history already, and then develop. This is talking about the investment when you mentioned.
Yeah. How much will the positive outlooks now awarded to Egypt affect the Egyptian economy? I mean, how positive of a development is this?
Well, I mean, even in the simplest explanation, it means that Egypt, as a whole society, you know, economy and people and GDP and everything, agriculture, industry, export, import, all together has good signs, positive signs. Or at the end, the resultant is positive. Then it means that those who calculated this and predicted it based on what they have, they trust. And then it means this trust will be expressed in confidence of the credit, lending, you know, guarantees, you know.
So it is an important certificate of trust.
Absolutely.
That will help lure more
Absolutely.
investment.
That's natural. That's natural. I mean, that's the way they work, you know. So if we are, for example, right now, this year, I mean, this fiscal year, which will end in June,
yes,
23, 24th, 23rd, 24th, okay, we will be stuck with this 3% maximum. But you know what? The projection now for IMF and that next fiscal year, that's according to their projection, we will be 4.2. Of course, we have been 7 before and 5, but anyway, look, it means that, and this is for the projection of the next year.
Well, of course, if the Gaza war ends, then Suez Canal revenues will pick up again. There will be no more Houthi attacks, no more problems in the Red Sea. Tourism should pick up again. And in all cases, Dr. Wali, I think that Egyptian remittances from abroad will pick up significantly now that there is no black market anymore. Right? So this should help the budget and the foreign currency total.
Talking about, you know, if things will get to normal, I mean, area-wise, especially, then we take these two figures, tourism and Suez Canal revenue. Imagine there is estimation, it's 13 point something billion
for tourism.
Loss. Imagine. We lost it, because of 13. You know, that's the worst case scenario. We have also to work on the worst case scenario. The minimum of it is we lose at least 9 or 8 billion. Imagine, that's a fact. We lost in tourism and Suez Canal revenue. Imagine 45% decrease in the Suez Canal revenue. It was well-known story. You see what happened on the height of the fight
Sure,
between
of
Israel
course.
and Iran, in the
Yeah.
40.
But Egyptian remittances from abroad should pick up real well. I mean,
Yeah.
shouldn't they?
Let's
And they are picking up
I hope so.
in the past couple of months or so.
Of course, there are people who would feel this, but
Maybe this will not reflect very much on this fiscal year that ends in
yes,
June,
yes.
but it should reflect on
That's
the
again
following
the delay
fiscal
effect,
year.
the
Yeah.
effective delay, the delayed effect, or the normal way of things in operation. Yeah. But the most important thing is that we have been losing. It will stop, hopefully. I mean, you can't help such loss. You can't help. For example, the return of Suez Canal. Imagine what happened to the ships, and the coast and so on.
Dr. Wali, what are the main challenges that face the industrial sector at the moment? You're an expert in this field. I mean, you're a man of industry. How is the industry picking up, and what are the challenges that still exist that we must overcome so we move forward?
Yeah. Well, industry is the locomotive of development everywhere. And it's a very big question and diversified. But if we try to polarize, and take the most important, because we are building up our capacity in manufacturing, which is the most important of industry, manufacturing. Manufacturing means that you have the material, you have the manpower, you have everything. You should have it to manufacture. If your capacity to maintain or to afford for less than 20% in some items, material or input for the product, because that's manufacturing, then it is not profitable. Unless it is a mass production and you have the market for it, locally or export. So the most important thing is that how we can, that's very important, localize our industry.
Depend on local components?
Yes, of course.
How do you,
in them.
understood.
Yeah.
How do you like the efforts exerted right now in this track? Do you see significant efforts in this track?
Yeah, it's part of Egyptian history, modern Egyptian history, let's say since 1952, I mean, when it started the real revolution of industry and so on. Because it was the dream of the Egyptians to have their factories, to have their production, and it's a long story. But anyway, we managed, at least. Look at our raw material when it comes to fertilizers, when it comes to cement. That's it, Before it was not like that. It was, just, monitors, small things. There is a record for us in this. The only thing that we are in a phase now when it comes to industry where, and you are an engineer, you know exactly what is the story, of the most important item is the sophisticated engineering, the technologies. The technologies have changed a lot of thinking when it comes to industry. So precision engineering now it's getting its top. So that look at manufacturing the chips, how much it can make you, how much it can bring you money, how much it can look billions. It's billions, although it's chips.
The microchips, yes.
Microchips. Now it shows you this, but still, of course, the big things, like the big data, for example, still still you need, of course, machines, for house appliances. You need, motors. You need, the stuff.
Speaking of motors, I mean, I understand that there are efforts to revive the automotive industry in Egypt at the moment. How do you see these efforts?
Yes. Frankly speaking, we had across the last 30 years, let's say 30 to 40 years, there was very good example of it was success of cooperation between the international brands, and manufacturers all over the world, from Japan to America, to USA, and the brands well known, and successful stories that even we reached the local content up to 60%. Well, let's see that the labor is taking a big part of it, which we deserve to make. But it means at the end, 60%.
So if the local component is 60%, why are prices so high?
No, not local content. I'm talking the many. That's when it comes to the local content, including the. Let's be frank. We should be honest. You know, let's consider that 25% is for the labor in this case.
Okay.
But
the sophisticated labor.
No, labor, like in general, labor. You know, at least in the industries where I was working.
The talented, let's say, the talented labor.
But if you get actually, if you get for this, you know, you need a skilled labor, just one skilled labor, 2, 3 laborers. It depends, you know. And you have a fully automated CNC machines, you know, computer numerical controlled machine, where you have to have, you know, a good.
So if I tell you made in Egypt, Dr. Wali, what is it that you think we can have a revolution in? Which industrial sector you think we can have an imminent revolution in? And we're going to say made in Egypt, and this will make it, you know, will change the lives of Egyptians, because made in Egypt will naturally be more affordable.
I will start with something. I hope you will agree with me. More and more higher and well qualified education. Technical educational, higher theoretical education, introduction into the new fields to cope with the world, because we can be starting with the world when it comes, for example.
So you're saying that if this happens, all sectors will be open to
I mean, we should start. Because if we will neglect this, we will feel the effect later on, the negative of it. But if we start it now, I mean, beside any other things, but this should be now the priority, you know.
On this very important note, Engineer Wali and the viewers, we've come to the end of this episode. We thank very much our dear guest here with us in the studio, Engineer Dr. Mostafa Wali, the former General Manager of the Egyptian Federation of Industries and the member of the Energy Committee at the Egyptian Syndicate of Engineers, and also a founding member of the European Business Council. It was a pleasure being with you, sir. Thank you very much.
It's always a pleasure being with you too.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Best regards.
Thank you very much, and thank you, dear viewers, for watching us. This is Mohammed Abdurrahim, and this is Good Night.